What's up, y'all? It's T-Turn. Today we're going to be talking about Unova remakes. Now, this is breaking news, but the Chinese Riddler has begun speaking about Unova remakes. I know this sounds crazy, so I'm going to explain everything that's going on. So first, we got to talk about what hype season we're in. When Scarlet and Violet comes to an end, there's two options that were heavily speculated for 2024 and onward. Either a Johto game like Let's Go Johto or a Unova game. Now, with the Johto game, it sounded pretty possible, but the issue with the Unova game is that BDSP just came out in 2021. While it is true that Game Freak has been flying through games, it just didn't sit well that just 3 years later, Gen 5 would be remade. And we still don't know. It still could be like Johto for 2024, and then Unova remakes are really in 2025. But now we can get into this. So it all starts just a day ago, on October 3rd, with Riddler Coup. And once he tweeted this began the start to the discussion on Unova remakes, even though we're in the middle of Indigo this season. It's just 4 letters in Chinese, and when translated it says, original soup, original taste. Could you... He's talking about Black and White remakes, but can you imagine how stupid we'll have to sound when we have to decipher his weird riddles? So when you throw it in various translators, the same meaning comes out generally. We have an original product and then the nature of that product. So think about that. The original product, the nature of it. So original soup, original taste, or original flavor. The idea, and this is why it was weird because Ku's being very discreet. What this seems to be implying is we've got the original game, Black and White remakes, and are they gonna do an upgraded remake like with Oraz, or an ILCA original take, original taste? So what Ku seems to be implying is that when Black and White gets remade, it's gonna be simple remakes like BDSP. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be chibis like BDSP. Let's try to take this news well, alright? Besides, it's just discrete riddles, so while it's heavily implied, things can always be different. Maybe he's messing with us. But I have to admit, it's pretty fun to be talking about Unova remakes right now. If it is ILCA, BDSP like remakes, it could be chibis, which of course people are gonna hate, but I can see why they're doing it. Pretty much Game Freak just wants to easily push out the remake with little effort on their part, which is why they give it to like someone like ILCA, so they can focus on something more interesting to them. So for BDSP, of course, ILCA made BDSP, Game Freak made Legends Arceus, which, whether you're a fan of the game or not, it was pretty crazy. It was the first open world game, had completely different mechanics, and actually made the same Oraz-like improvements. Like for example, instead of the primal forms, we got the Origin, Dialga, and Palkia in this game, along with introducing for the first time in forever, cross-gen evolutions. You see, I think when Game Freak was thinking about how they made Auras, they had all these ideas, but they were confined to having to use it within the remake. I have a suspicion that after tasting how they could separate it with Sinnoh remakes, that they don't want to go back to that, and that Black and White will be a situation where we get simple remakes and then a Legends type game or something different. Original soup, original taste. Listen, I understand it. I'm not saying I love it. At the least, if they're gonna give us the poo-poo remakes, please make it at least in Let's Go quality. Not Let's Go mechanics where you have to freaking throw the Pokeball, but that quality. I don't understand how Pokemon pulled off like the rich quality that the overworld looked like in the Let's Go games, and then whatever happened with BDSP. It's an overused word, but Let's Go had some crazy soul put into it. Riding Pokemon, the colors were pure. Granted, BDSP, if they go with ILCA again, BDSP was their first game, so they would have learned a lot. And so maybe if we get more people from Game Freak working on these simple Unova remakes, we can get a game that looks like Let's Go on the overworld. You know, and in those mid-sized chibi graphics will be fine. Of course, I know we would rather the freaking giant Scarlet and Violet type remakes, but come on, this is Game Freak. And just if you're wondering, you know, did we read this riddle correctly? Ku responds to his own tweet with this. And all this says is, ha 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 ha. Don't believe me?
Ha 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 ha.
So 2 options here, right? Ku is either laughing at our pain, because he knows no one wants quote-unquote faithful remakes, or he's laughing because he's trolling us. Anyhow, then comes piece number 2. Ku posts this picture. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. So I'll tell you right now, this seems to be another hint towards this whole Black and White hype season. Pretty much what this is it's a symbol. Well, we have to find where it exists in the Pokemon universe. People went crazy searching everywhere. Where's this symbol? But guess where it was? Shout out to Neville Boy here for figuring it out. You open up your 3DS to Pokédex 3D Pro and you look through the QR codes and here is Dino. It matches up perfectly. So it's Dino's QR code. That's the answer to the riddle. So there's a couple ways to look at this. One, well, the last hint was original or authentic. And this hint is black and white and Dino. Maybe it's black and white remakes in faithful style. The other interpretation comes when he responds to this image saying, enjoy this, it's a new fun series. Which he's not talking about a Pokemon series, he's talking about a new series of riddles he's gonna try out, it seems. And so this leads me to thinking that he showed Dino's QR code here to hint Dino gets some kind of attention, whether it's in the Indigo disc or in Unova Remakes. Now it would be weird in Unova Remakes because Dino belongs to Unova. So it's not like you can give it a regional form, that is its regional form. Unless, you know, if you just try to branch out and think, if these are faithful style black and white remakes, and maybe we'd get a different game like a Legends Kyurem, Legends Victini, either in the past or future or whatever, then maybe, just like Hisuian forms, there could be like an ancient different final evolution alongside Hydreigon that existed back then. Maybe this is a series he's gonna use to talk about new Pokemon that'll be introduced in the Unova hype season, starting with Dino. Alright, then we move on to the next freaking riddle, and it's this picture. This is the same series, I'd assume, except instead of a QR code, now we got a freaking footprint. This one is not as hard. Surely we just look through all the footprints of Pokemon, we can find out what this is. So going through all the Pokemon, obviously the symbol looks like some kind of bird, and it's its talon on the ground somewhere. And so you scroll down far enough, and here's Doduo. This one is a perfect match. No, that is exactly the image. What Ku posted was Doduo's footprint as seen in BDSP. Oh frick. So what does this mean? So Dino and Doduo get special attention in a future game? That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it here by Mark Sadiq says, I cracked it. It means the original dragon of Kyurem, Reshiram, and Zekrom is going to possibly have 2 or 3 heads just like Doji or Danoline. Forget the 2 heads, that doesn't sound half bad. I mean, if the original, no one ever thought of the original dragon having 3 heads. But if it had 3 heads, it almost makes sense that it could be split into 3 dragons. Could you imagine that? I've never seen fan art of the original dragon with 3 heads. But our 2 riddles are ultimately Hydreigon and Dodrio. This is a pretty good answer. And in other news, there's a cool take from VTS here who says, Dino has the word ein in it, which in German means 1. Doduo has duo, which means 2. So maybe Ku's trying to spell out to us the release date for the Indigo disc, which is the 12th of December. Indigo disc release date talk is a bit weird. Pokemon will make the most money if it comes out in November or December. And it also does say still planned for winter 2023. So even though we just did get the Teal mask, it would be in their best interest to release it within the next month or 2. But the issue is whether they're done or not. As a backup, they could always release it next year, January, like they did with Legends, but it won't make them as much money. So this isn't a bad guess as well. But my favorite is the freaking original dragon having 3 heads. That's freaking insane. Then this leads us to literally just like 30 minutes ago. The last bit of news. There are many known leakers in the Pokemon community. We have the old Chinese Riddler, we have the Chinese Uncle Riddler, then we have the Chinese Cool Riddler. One of them spoke. Guess who it was? It was your uncle. So Ku, who occasionally likes to look over the Chinese social media, he posted a screenshot of it because he probably knows the same information. So this is the Chinese uncle. This is his first post. He posts this, which means something along the lines of, that's just one of them. It doesn't mean both are like this. So responding to this, some man named Batman with a leaf says this. What are the 2? Or what are the 2 models? And Chinese uncle says something along the lines of, on black and white, original, and paradoxical. They all talk in crypticism. But you see, when Ku posts it, he says, breaking, Chinese uncle leaked, as if this is some big news. So I imagine the scenario, just to get into Ku's head, is something like this. He's always checking Chinese social media, but in the crowd of posts talking about Pokemon, he notices the uncle saying something that's unrevealed to us. And so he posted it on Twitter as breaking news because someone out there broke the ice. So if we read this correctly, this is crazy news. But you know what's funny? No one knows what it means. Legit, it's only been like 30 minutes since this came out, so you're gonna have to think a bit. We have original and paradoxical written here. Who knows what that means? And then black and white written. So one interpretation that people talk about is maybe they're talking about original being faithful like remakes, and then whatever the paradoxical, that is the legends like remakes or legends like black and white game. Either way, this is why I put this video together the way it is, because at the start we were just joking around talking about black and white, but this is the post here that heavily implies black and white is on the way. All three of the Chinese men know black and white remakes are on the horizon. This is the post that proves it. What are they talking about with this original and paradoxical black and white? And what are they talking about with all these three-headed Pokemon? Is the original dragon actually gonna be some mythical creature like that? I will keep y'all posted. Make sure y'all shank that like button. Let me know your thoughts below, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.